All right, in this unit, we're going to be working with object aliases and equality. So this will be the warm-up. So take a moment. We're going to have a couple topics here, and you can talk amongst yourselves. What does it mean what does it mean to you for two objects to be considered equal? Some examples, kind of this. Do we consider these two objects to be equal? Why or why not? We have Amy here on the left with an X, Y location, direction, ease remaining paint 5, and Rosie on the right with the same values. Are they equal? Yes or no? How about the different names for the same object? Do we consider those to be equal? Why are we not? If we had Amy and Rosie pointing to the same object, would the different names be the same? Should those be considered equal? Go ahead and pause for a moment just to discuss amongst yourselves all 3 points of what does it mean for the objects to be equal? Are these two different objects equal? And how about having different names for the same objects? Should those be considered equal? Go ahead and pause and pick whenever you're ready. All right, so for today, our lesson objective is going to be by the end of this lesson, you're going to be able to explain the difference between the equals sign and the equals method. We're going to also write an equals method to compare object data for equality. The question of the day that you should have is, how can I check if two objects are equal? To start off with, go to Lesson 6, Level 1, and do the predict and run. Go ahead and pause this and wait until most, if not all of you, have completed this level. I'm going to be continuing though. If you didn't already, go ahead and go to Lesson 6, Level 2, investigate the code on 2 through 4, and make those changes that they prompt you to do and observe the different results that happen. Again, pause this until you're all ready. We are going to watch a couple videos. I will link to these specific videos. We're not going to watch it through this video because that'd be a little hard for where I'm doing this from. So I'll link the 2 links to these videos. So go ahead and pause this video and grab those 2 links, and you're going to watch first this equals and aliases one, and then there will be another one in a few moments. So go ahead and pause my video, go watch that one. All right, welcome back. An alias is a reference variable that points to the same object as another reference variable. It's kind of, if you've ever watched a lot of crime scene or like cop shows or anything like that, you might see that people have different aliases, also known as whatever little guy or whatever it is. So you're going to have those. The aliases are going to are ways of referencing to the same person or the same object, if you will, that already exists. It's just another name for the same thing over and over again. So in this example, I have an object Amy, and it's a painter object. And so this is Amy here. And then I'm going to do Rosie equals Amy. And what this does is this sets an alias of Rosie to Amy. You can think of it almost as like a nickname. We're talking about the same person, or the same object, if you will. So 2 different names for the same object, just like a nickname is another name for somebody with a different first name. So when do you think it would be useful to use the equals equals or the not equals operator with objects, and when do you think it would be not useful to do this? You can discuss amongst yourselves for a few seconds. All right. So the object class is a superclass for all classes and objects, or for all classes in Java. We've talked about this kind of a little briefly. There's like these super high level. There's these super high level. There's a super high level object in this entire thing, and everything that we make that's a class is a subclass of this object class, everything that's object based. And so there's these defaults that kind of exist in every single object, and it's because they're all part of this object class. So we've talked about this before on how to override the toString method. Whenever we're in our specific class, we can make our own toString method, and that's going to overwrite what that toString method is. We can also do that with another method in the object class, and we'll use this to hopefully help us compare objects to each other. Because as she talked about earlier, it doesn't really work super well with objects. So this is the second video that I mentioned before. Why doesn't the equals method in the object class compare the values assigned to an instance variable? He goes into detail on why that is. Again, that link is going to be in the description for this video. So the object class has an equals method, which means all classes also have an equals method. We talked about this with the toString. There's this equals method that exists. And so we can create, and we can, sorry, not create, we can modify this method to make it so that it kind of does more specific testing. So this method only returns true if the two reference variables are aliases of each other. So if object one is the same as object two, and it's very much that whole argument of they have the same, they're the same object and they just have a nickname of each other. So in order to compare specific attributes of an object, we need to override the equals method. And so the way that we do that is we go into our object. So that's what this is talking about, your object class. So we're talking about a specific object. We do public because this needs to be accessible by everything. Boolean, which makes it so that it's true false, equals object, the kind of object type is, and the object. So it needs to have the same it needs to have the same method signature as the method inherited from the superclass. So yeah. What parameter in the equals method is of type object, which means the parameter is in the equals methods. We must write be of type object. How can we treat the parameter as the type we need so we can access its instance variable? Discuss amongst yourselves. In order to do this, we need to set these equal to the original superclass, the object variable version of it. So public boolean equals object other. This has the same signature as the original equals method, and it has the same return type. It has the same name, and it has the same, like it says no parameters, but it has like the same like parameter type situation where it's passing in just this one other thing. Yeah. So we look at, we have these, we're making this object. It has, you know how we normally do int and double. We can do the same thing over here where we say, hey, this other is going to be of a type painter. So if we're talking about this is a painter object, it's going to be of this type other, or sorry, this type painter, and we're going to name it other. And so what we can do is we kind of create these two, we have these two objects, and we're kind of making it again temporarily. Remember, this will all disappear once we leave this method. We make this temporary object, this other object, and we can actually check them between each other. We can check the specific object that we're working with. So if we had not other painter, if we had original painter, sure, let's just have this being called original painter. It's going to go original painter X location. Is it the same as the original painter X location, or the other painter X location? And this allows it to actually do a check on itself. So, but what if the parameter other is points to the same object as this? We can put in a kind of a test for that. If other is this, so if they're an alias of each other, then it should return true. And that just allows us to kind of work with that, if you will. Make it so that it'll actually do the work and say, hey, yeah, this is true before actually needing to check a specific thing. This will return true. This would return also true. And this other is talking about this right here, not necessarily that one there. Okay. Yeah, that's what I just said. What if it's not the same type? Then we can return if it's not a painter type. So, if we had a painter and we had an electrician, if it's not even like the same type of object, then we can make it so it returns false if it's not an instance of painter, which it talks about right here. So instance checks, hey, is it at least like this type of class? Is it type of this? Is this other? Is it a type of painter object? If it's not, then they're definitely not equal. They're definitely different things. Um, yeah. All right, so go ahead in lesson 6, go through levels 5, 6, and 7, and complete those. And that wraps up everything for us. Don't need to do that. Today, we worked about that difference between equals and the equal sign, writing an equals method to compare objects for equality, and answer the question of how can I check if two objects are equal. All right, have a good one.